What's up, everybody? This is the Messed Up to Setups podcast, and on the show with me today, comedian Johnny Watson. This dude's been podcasting with his mom for like 7 years. This dude's a stand-up comedian, does sketch comedy, and he's going to tell us about his journey into comedy, so stick around.
It's all messed up, yeah, everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.
What's up, everybody? The Messed Up the Setups podcast. I'm comedian Michael Halcomb, and I'm glad to welcome to the show today comedian Johnny Watson. We're just meeting for the first time. Johnny, thanks for coming on.
Michael, my pleasure, and just a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So where are you located geographically?
New Jersey, Bloomingdale, New Jersey. It's just about 30 minutes outside of New York City.
All right, I can pick up the accent for sure. Are you originally like from there? You grew up there?
Yep, I did. I'm originally from Jersey. Lived here my whole life other than, going to the military and stuff like that, and lived out in California for a bunch of years, and but originally from Jersey.
Right on, man. What was that like growing up in Jersey?
Rough. It was rough. It was, it was tough. That's why, I had to develop a sense of humor not to get beat up. So,
Right.
yeah, so it was, but I loved it, man. So it's a great, a great state, for the most part. You have a little bit of everything here. You got a little bit of everything. So, and then New York City's only a half hour away. So if you want that type of action, you can just go right into the city.
Right. So how long you been in stand-up comedy? I hate asking how long.
Yeah.
Like, when did you get into stand-up comedy? That's maybe better.
About 2022, around there. I was always dabbling in it a little bit, because when I was younger and stuff like that. But yeah, around there, about 20 years I've been doing it. So,
What like led you into it?
well, I was in the military, and growing up, class clown and all that stuff like that. Again, you had to. I grew up very poor. Grew up, like other side of the track, so you had to be, humorous, and like I said, and to deal with all the stuff that was coming your way. But I joined the Navy, and I used to do the emceeing for, like, we'd have talent shows on the ship. So I was the MC for the talent show, and just started developing stuff. Never even thought about doing stand-up. And then we got to Kona, Hawaii, and there was a comedy club there. And about 60 of us went to the show. And the MC, and I wish I knew who the MC was because I'd like to apologize to him. But we were all there, and they started booing the MC, started saying, "We got someone funnier than you. He's funnier than you." And they start chanting my name. So the MC's like, "Well, let's get this guy up here." So I went up there and did a little bit of stand-up. So the next day, my captain happened to be at the show. So he calls me into his office, and he's like, "I'd like to see you stay in the military, but if you don't, you might want to pursue this. It seems like you might have a talent for it." So and after the Navy, I started working at Medieval Times. And I would just work there. I didn't, like, a lot of the guys would put on the, "Hello, we're from Medieval Times. My name is so-and-so, and I will be your serf." Me, I was just like, "All right, my name's Johnny. I'm gonna be your serf tonight. I'm your guy." And then one kid was like, "Why don't you talk like them?" I said, "Because this is a Jersey castle. I'm from Jersey, pal. This is the way we talk, right?" So, and then, after one show, there's this lady that approached me. She said her name was Erin. She's like, "Ever thought about doing stand-up comedy?" Now, again, I never was trying to be funny at the shows. I was just being myself. And she says, "I'm the manager of the Improv. And, maybe you'd like to start coming out and trying to do some, we got, open mics there type of thing, and try to do that." So that's how I kind of got started initially. But there's more to that story and stuff like that, how it progresses. I can tell you that if you want to hear it too. But
Well,
but
that's
how it started.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you in your 20s when the Kona, Hawaii thing happened, or?
Yeah, I was in my 20s, like 22, just getting ready to get out, and then,
Wow.
yeah, so,
Were
yeah.
you stationed in Kona?
No, I was stationed in San Diego,
Oh, okay.
but we'd go
All
on the
right.
Westpac, so we'd visit all the, the Westpac type of countries and stuff
Right.
like that, yeah, and then, then we'd end up in Hawaii for it was called a Tiger Cruise, where you could have all your male family members, not all of them, but I think it was two male family members could ride back on the ship with you from Hawaii. 'Cause,
Wow.
yeah, so it was cool. It was good time.
Interesting. Yeah, I just moved from Honolulu. I've been there about 8.5 years.
No way.
Yeah, just moved.
That's awesome,
Missing
man.
missing Hawaii. I love the Hawaii connections. Yeah, man, that's pretty cool. And then the
Yeah.
medieval times story, the chance meeting with that Aaron
Yeah.
sound. I mean, that's wild, dude.
Yeah, it really was, and then, but I worked around so many actors and actresses, and I had wanted to start thinking about getting into stand-up. I really was something I thought was pretty neat, and, so I was around so many actors and actresses that were so supportive of doing it. Like, when I first did my first show, I think, like, 50 of them showed up at the show. So, and they were doing that. They were very, very supportive. There was always a group of people that came out to see me. Even when I didn't have to ask anybody to come out, they would just come out and support. So that was a great support system. Because you
Yeah,
feel
I don't think
down at
many.
times, and you know how it is. And next thing you know, they're picking you up. So that was great.
Right. I don't think a lot of comedians have that kind of support base. I mean, right.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for a lot of comedians to just sell a few tickets.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you hear about these bringer shows, it's like
Yep.
they're like even like friends of mine, like, like not acquaintances who you meet at these shows and stuff like that, but, they'll call me up, "Hey, can you just come and sit in the audience for me?" I'm like, and no, it's tough. I don't sit there with 8, 10 comics, because you know how it is. It's tough to stay focused when you're performing. When you're not performing, you want to be doing other things, and a lot of times these nights that you are performing, it's on the weekend that they want you to go, so you are doing your
Right.
shows.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So interesting. One of the things I like to ask comedians, like, do you have a writing routine, a process? Like, what does writing look like for you?
Yeah, well, like I said, I write out of more inspiration than perspiration, and I've been trying to get better at perspiration because for me, I've got such bad ADHD and all this stuff, as a lot of comics do, and, I'm diagnosed bipolar and all, so for me to sit down there and just write is so hard for me to do. In fact, I mean, it got to a point before I started going to therapy where I would start writing, try to write and sit there and I would get so hot, like I would get so like sweaty and I'd start taking clothes off because it was just so overwhelming to me. So, but I do more out of inspiration than perspiration. I mean, I try to write all the time. And
Yeah.
right now I'm in actually like a writer's block right now. And so I'm trying to just trying to move out of it and trying to really move on from it, but it's I like writing out of inspiration, which is, I know you necessarily shouldn't lean on that. I know, you got
Mm,
to really sit down and try to, but I do that as well. I'll go up to like Panera or someplace and try to get a different environment and just
right.
start writing subject matter down and try to
Mm.
work out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the comedians I talk with, like, it seems to be kind of like, right when you one have time, two when inspiration strikes, and then
Mm,
in the meantime, the overwhelming majority of people I talk with is like, okay, I got a notes app on my phone.
right.
I'm always like noticing and watching and taking notes, on
Right.
stuff so I can
Sure.
come back to it.
Absolutely, that's what I do a lot of that too. I've got so many gadgets, I got this pen that's a computer pen that you write on a special notebook, and it saves everything into your computer. It's really neat. It's a pretty cool thing. But I mean, I've got everything from, I just downloaded, an app for transcribing and things like
Right.
that, and so I'm trying I mean, I've got the technology to do it, it's just a matter of like, I mean, like I said, I mean, I basically write every day, but, some
Yeah.
days I'll just sit there and just look at the paper and, it's just overwhelming, it's like, I can't think of anything. I can't even and anything I write down, like, that's terrible. That's horrible, So,
When you're on stage, do you find yourself, like, sticking really strictly to what you've written, or are you ad-libbing? Like, what's that look like?
I don't really have a set list, and I know it's good and bad. I don't have a set list. I've
Wow.
got, like, the first couple things, and then from there, I just go, and then I'll feel it out and just figure, where I should go from there to there. But it's a lot of acts are A to Z, A, B, all the way to Z with their set list. Mine is like A, B, C, and then it's like F and then Y and, Z will be in there. And, I got a closing bit that I close with. But other than that, I'm all over the place, with it.
Yeah, so I haven't met anybody yet that sort of takes that approach. That's pretty unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So is it just that you have like a trunk full of jokes and you're sort of reading the audience, reading the room in real time to feel like, okay, where do I go next? And then that's where you go. Is that kind
Yeah,
of what you're
yeah,
doing?
yeah, that's it. It's like sometimes if the audience is flat, if they seem to be more flat, especially if that front row seems flat, because if you get that
Mhm.
front row going, then chances are it's gonna be a really good show. It's when that front row is not, participating. So like
Right.
I'll look and I'll see what the other guys are doing in the sense of, what kind of subjects is hitting or whatever. And then I'll go out there and start doing my thing. And then if I feel like I need to switch up, then that's when I'll pull something out instead of going in this. And that's why I don't go in a, direct,
Mhm.
ABC process. And so I feel like that most of the time works for me.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So you have like the jokes like in the queue
Right.
and you're pulling from those. Are you ever just like making up stuff on the spot too?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't consider myself really like a crowd work comic or an improv comic, but I do. Like I'll find, something that will be like, okay, that'll work. While I'm up there
Right.
thinking, it's like as you're thinking three jokes ahead. Like what,
Right.
how's this, how's that, is this gonna go? It's so interesting. I always like sometimes I'll be up there thinking about the next joke. And then I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm really thinking about something. It was like while doing the joke, thinking about the next one, and then thinking, wow, I'm thinking about the next joke. It's like, it's amazing how much you can process,
Right.
when you're up there. But yeah, so, I'll try to improvise things and try to think about what might, I'm like, oh, that's a line that might work here. So,
Yeah, so you said you don't do much crowd work. Is that like you just don't enjoy it? Do you feel like you're not strong at it? You despise it? What?
no, I don't despise, it's funny that people say when I do my crowd work, people be like, "Oh, you're so good at it. That's really good." But I'm up there going, this is no good. Like, this is terrible. What am I doing? And mine isn't like, I don't like, I'm watching, like, as you see on these videos, I mean, guys now are just, it's crowd work after crowd work after crowd work.
Yes.
And,
Right.
and it's to me, I don't want to, I'm not trying to judge, but to me, it's like, I don't know, where's the material? Where is the
Right.
material? And it's like, you're like, I know a couple guys that have like four people they'll pick out that for certain things. And they just keep going to them the whole show, and to me, it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's like it could do it, but I just don't have an interest in it.
Gotcha.
I try not to. I mean, and again, not judging anybody that does do it because
Right.
some of these guys are terrific at it, and they're
Yeah.
great at it, and that's their whole thing, and they get by with it, and they don't have to worry about writing. They just go up there and do their thing. So, and sometimes I envy that, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I just stick with my material and I'll interact a little bit, and then if somebody gives me something, because sometimes you know how it is. Sometimes you get somebody. I had a heckler, and she wasn't mean. She was a very nice heckler, but she just wouldn't shut up. And, yeah, she just would not shut up. And so I had to deal with her, but I deal with these people in a nice way. I'm soft, like
Okay.
I don't go out there. I'm not really aggressive with these people. And, so I'm pretty soft with but it seems to work. So
Right.
I'll keep doing it.
So you've been in Hawaii, the thing they do there, the chee-hoo. I don't know if you
No, I
ever
didn't
heard
know.
that.
No, no.
That's like the thing there, Chihu, and,
Wow.
I saw Daniel Tosh, at
Right.
Hawaii Theater, about a year ago, and, he's up there doing his we're he's maybe 3, 4 minutes in,
Right.
somebody's "Chee-hoo" after one of his jokes, and he just lets it slide the first time, second time, "Chee-hoo." He's like, "Alright." He's like, stops his show. He's like, "This is a comedy show. We laugh at jokes. I don't wanna hear another chee-hoo or you're outta here."
Right.
Right?
Right.
Next joke. He stops the show again, calls the guards down, dude.
Right.
They escort the guy. He throws the guy out of the theater.
Wow. Hey.
Super aggressive, but as soon as he did it, like, he I don't know, like in Hawaii, there's really ethnic tensions. They really exist. So
Okay.
this was a local dude,
Right.
and Tosh, he could have really like sunk the performance by throwing out a local guy,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
But he has him escorted out, dude, 4 minutes into the show, maybe. And then immediately he starts making jokes about throwing the guy out, wins the crowd back
Right.
immediately. It
Right.
was like, dude, it was like the most genius thing.
Sure. Sure.
One of the most genius things I ever seen on stage. Like,
Right. Right.
just, I don't know.
He's
And the
great.
tickets, dude, like it was like 99 for like that ticket
Wow.
where that dude
Wow.
was sitting.
Wow.
And he got 4 minutes into the show and was done.
Was
Like,
booted. Wow.
so I'm super intrigued by how people, everybody handles those things differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I had
Yeah,
a
like,
I had a situation one time where, I was doing a bit and, this bachelorette party walks in. Literally, I'm 40 some odd minutes into my act, and this bachelorette party walks in late, and the girl hears something that I say, but she doesn't hear the joke. She doesn't hear anything about it, and she just starts yelling at me and and then they did escort her out. I was like, "You didn't even hear the material." And there was there's been a couple times I've had to get like really there's a guy in Philly I got into it with from stage one night. And he had to be escorted out. Oh,
mm.
yeah. But for the most part I'm pretty soft. I don't don't really get into it.
Well, I'm wondering, like, this is another one of those questions I ask everybody that comes on is like, imagine like somebody's watching this or listening to this and they're like right on the verge of like pulling the trigger to do stand up. Like, what one, two, three pieces of advice that you would give to somebody?
Well, when I started, and I'm pretty clean, for the most part. I mean, and I prefer to stay cleaner.
Yeah.
When I was starting, I started working really fast, like really quickly on the road and everything else because this one comic was a clean headliner and everybody he was working with was dirty, I guess, before him. So he saw me and I had like 10 minutes of clean material. That's all I had was 10 minutes. But he asked me to go on the road with him because he wanted me to be like a buffer between, the guys and him. I was like doing guest spots, but I would guest spot before him. And he wanted that to be like a buffer. And then I went on the road with him for 5 weeks. And then I came back and then his roommate was like, "Hey, listen, you want to go on the road? Same situation. You want to go on the road with me?" So it was the same exact run that they were
Huh.
doing. So I went on the road and by that time I had, because I developed another 10 minutes while I was on the road for the 5 weeks or so, 5 to 10 minutes. And then when I came back, I went on the road with the other guy. And then the booker said to me, "When do you want to come back again?" And I'm like, "Well, when are these guys coming back?" He's like, "Well, you don't have to come back with these guys. Just come back and feature another time." And I had about maybe 20 minutes, but he's like, "Yeah, by the time you get out of here, you'll have another 5. So you'll have 25 minutes. So come back on your own." So my thing was I was cleaner, so I was able to work a lot. So I had this discussion with a newer comic yesterday. They asked me about it. And I said, "It's just my opinion.
Right.
It's just my opinion. You're asking me my opinion. My opinion is the cleaner you can be, especially in the beginning, I think the better off you're going to be because you can work. You're going to work. I mean, you ever hear of Otto and George,
Yeah.
the ventriloquist? He was super dirty. He was an X-rated comic, but he liked it when he had cleaner guys in front of him because once the room is blue, it's blue. It's hard to
Right.
change it around.
Right.
So and it takes away from what he would do. So, yeah, so he liked cleaner guys in front of him, and there was a bunch of guys, and I worked a couple times with him, but there was a bunch of guys who were cleaner that he preferred to work in front of him. So, yeah,
Well,
that would
that's
be huge, I think, a huge, a piece of advice if
to
you can
work
do it.
clean.
I think in
Yeah.
the beginning, especially, I mean, I think so, I mean, you can work more, you'll go into I mean, you think about all the places that you're restricted if you're dirty that you can't get into.
Right.
And I
Right.
know a lot of these clubs that will, they'll be like, as a feature act or whatever, "We want you working clean. We want you working clean. We don't care what the
Right.
headliner does, but we want you." Just like the thing with crowd work. There was a Midwest guy who did not want you to do any crowd work at all. No crowd work at all. In fact, if you did crowd work, you're getting docked money. So yeah, yeah. So he was pretty adamant about that. So
Wow.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
there's like a maxim or a dictum, a saying that I've heard a lot, in stand-up comedy world about like if you start when you start joke writing, if you start writing dirty, you can't shift the clean. But
Right.
if you start writing clean, you will have the ability to shift the dirty. Not that you need to, but like this idea that if you start blue, you can't you'll find it almost impossible to go to the other direction and start writing
Sure.
clean.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Everything I do, I try to write I start off clean. I don't really write anything dirty, and then if there's something that comes out of it that I'm not like, I'm not a prude, I'm not saying or
Right,
I'm not even saying no, that's a bad word, but like prude, I'm not judgmental if I've done stuff that's suggestive, more suggestive and drop language at times.
right.
But yeah, I try to start off writing everything clean and hopefully it continues to keep going that way and I can find something out of there that'll make it work. And I think one of the biggest problems with writing clean is like Woody Allen, who I really like. I like his stand up. And he had a saying, he says, he may not get the biggest laughs, but he would get the best laughs. And so, because you have that emotional connection with the people, and dirty stuff is always going to get those big erupting laughs, those big, it's going to happen. But like what Woody Allen would talk about, and that's why sometimes I really try to stay to that, where you'll get these emotional connection laughs where people come up to you at the end and be like, oh man, I really felt what you were saying to,
Right,
on that joke. And rather than that huge, and don't get me wrong, you like those huge laughs, but I think that's a big difference with the clean and the dirty is this
right.
size of the laugh that people fall in love with. You fall in love with those big laughs. And if you can go, oh, I can just keep recreating this. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying it doesn't work because, there'll be people. There's a show that I'm doing soon with it's my cousin's show, and he wanted me to book a show for him. So and they asked for this one guy in particular because he was really dirty and they loved him. And meanwhile, the guy who called me about booking the show was like, okay, we want to do it on the cleaner side. The guy we had last time was really dirty, but the guy wanted the same guy. So it's that conflict of,
Huh.
what are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
so it's a
Well,
tough
it's
call.
like, thinking about somebody just getting into comedy or thinking about pulling the trigger too, like a lot of I've seen this a bazillion times at open mics, for example.
Hmm.
A lot of people think it's just getting up and saying the rudest, most
Right.
shocking thing, right? Like,
Right.
and when you're working blue, like that's kind of what you're doing, but working clean, you have to have structure. You have to have like
Right.
an actual joke,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so there's a difference there. You don't have the crutch of shock to lean on for
Sure.
laughter.
Right. You're right about that. I mean, subject matter is, you really do have to have something interesting. I always say
Right.
too about with comics, like, you know, make sure you're interesting.
That's good.
Sometimes it's better than, you can get away with, even if the joke kind of doesn't land as well in the end, people will appreciate the interesting part of it.
Right.
They'll like that.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So you mentioned that you had been doing I think it was before I hit the record button that you'd done a podcast with your mom for like 7 years. What was that
Yeah.
about?
Oh, it was just like her and I, like, she was great. Like, we disagree or did disagree on everything and, on everything. So we would sit there and then sometimes I would just disagree with her just to get her all riled up. So one day I said to her, I said, "We should do a podcast together." So we started doing a podcast and, it grew. It really grew. We had a producer and then it grew from like her and I and this producer to like probably like 15 guys helping out with the show. I mean, we had a whole panel and our show was like
Wow.
a morning show meets Saturday Night Live meets like a talk show, like late night television. I would do a monologue, we did sketches, we did all types of things. And
Wow.
yeah, and that lasted for a long time. It would have lasted longer, but she got really sick and we couldn't do it anymore because she got sick. And so and she passed away, even though I keep her alive in the act. When I talk about her, I
Mm,
talk about her in present time. But she passed away, she died. And then so I stopped doing it. And so now I'm getting ready to restart the show, but it's never going to be the same way it was with her. And now with
right.
people with even with this, with Riverside and Zoom, people, they don't like to show up as much, they'd rather do it at home. So it's tough to get a whole
Right.
crew together and to do what we did on that level would be pretty difficult, especially with people aren't in the same room. And yeah, so that's what we did. We had a great time with it and, so miss doing it with her.
Yeah, that's pretty unique, man. That sounds very unique.
Yeah, and we were, it's funny. We were really our show. Talk about being clean. We were, because of my mother, and my mother didn't care. I did. I felt like would feel embarrassed if I would swear. Like I never swore in front of my mother. Never did,
Right.
except when I was at shows and she would come and she could care less if I did, but I did. So I kept the show like it was
Right.
on. It was where you could like have kids, put them to bed, and still listen to the show. And not have to
Gotcha.
worry about your kids listening to it. So yeah, so that's how
That's
the show
great.
was. Yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
show. We really enjoyed it.
Hmm. Well, let me point people to your website. I know it's under construction, so it's got
Yeah.
a little bit going on.
Yeah.
It's just if you guys who are watching or listening, therealjohnnyWatson.com. So yeah, some things going on with it,
Yeah. He's
over
updating
here, but
everything.
yeah, so it's being the logo there is covering up your like
Yeah.
dates.
Yeah, that's what he's figuring it, what do you call it? What is it? Whatever the platform is, they're having updates with it, so that's the way it
Gotcha.
looks right now, but it'll be fixed. Hopefully today or tomorrow it's gonna be fixed. He's working on it
Gotcha.
probably as we speak.
So go check. You can watch some videos there. You
Yeah.
can connect with Johnny on social.
Yeah, it's social media too. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say it's, Johnny Watson Comedy on Instagram, so, if,
Okay.
they wanna
Yeah.
go there too, it's got some stuff on
Connect
there.
Johnny Watson Comedy on Instagram, and yeah, check out the website. This has been fun
Yeah.
and insightful too, man. We're gonna do this is only part one. We're gonna do a part two, and Johnny's gonna bring a premise or a joke or something. We're gonna hear it and see if we can workshop it maybe, and then do some comedy on the spot, which I love doing with comedians. And so that'll be part two. So make sure after you go to Johnny's website that you head over to michaelhalcomb.live. I got a daily comedy blog. I write about comedy like every single day on there. You guys can subscribe to that. It'll come straight to your email or update you on your phone. And the podcast drops on there twice a week. So you'll be alerted about that. It's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all the things. So subscribe, follow, share. That'd be awesome. Interact. If you know a guest you'd like me to bring on, let me know. But yeah, dude, this has been really fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for those of you watching or listening, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss part two. Right. All right, y'all. Johnny, thanks so much, dude.
My
And
pleasure.
we're going to stop there and say we hope that helps.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.